All right. Well, this is great, Ed. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I'm really, really proud to be here with Andrew.
Well, tell me what do you call this chapter? What of your life right now?
That's the great question. I would say right now it's caregiver, actually.
Yeah. So, but do we call it the fourth chapter or the fifth chapter or
It could be called the sabbatical.
the sabbatical? Good.
Let's call it the sabbatical.
Intermission.
Intermission. Exactly.
Intermission. You're a big time Michigan State fan, right?
True.
But you have some other allegiances, right?
Well, it's an interesting background on the educational standpoint of my family because my grandfather's president of Michigan State.
Yeah.
He was president at Northern Michigan. My dad worked at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay, also worked at Michigan State. So, I grew up in East Lansing, born here. Went to Spartan games as, when I was a little kid.
Glencairn, right?
Yeah. Glencairn. And then we moved to Wisconsin when I think I was like in third grade.
Yeah.
And, just wound up
And
going to school.
Tell me how old you are, 62, 63?
64.
Okay.
Just hit 64.
So a little older than Mike Fagan.
Same class.
Oh, same class, right?
Yeah. Mrs.
So
Cardwell.
you would have been in Glencairn with him, right?
Correct.
The Fagans.
Yep.
And were the Bullocks there too?
No,
No, they would have gone to the Catholics. They were the West Siders too.
I
Probably.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of the names around East Lansing, you would have been right there with probably the Brogans
Sure.
were there.
Yep.
And,
All the Brogans and going back, the Martins and the Campbells and
oh yeah, the Campbells. Yeah.
Right.
So Pete would have probably been close to your age, or Bob.
Bob. Okay, the dad. Help me with the dad.
Robert.
Robert. I think he coached me in basketball,
Yeah, isn't that great?
in that church league basketball.
And your grandfather was Edward?
Edgar.
Edgar.
Yep.
And a member of the country club.
Yes.
And I was so before my big prep for this, I don't know. I didn't really know your dad, but you knew my dad,
Yeah.
and you could always read, your dad in a way that if he introduced you or you crossed paths with somebody, you knew whether your dad respected this person, right, or felt highly of him or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just that his demeanor. And I remember walking into the club one time, and Edgar always dressed to the nines, right? And I think he was mainly always in a bow tie, right?
A bow tie, a tie. But he was in something.
3-piece maybe,
Yeah, he
just
was in
decked out to the nines. And I remember, we were crossing paths with him, and we stopped, and he said, "Come on over, boy." I don't remember. It was probably Jerome and I, and maybe Jim, or the younger group. And he said, "This is Miss President Harden," I think.
Yeah.
He introduced him. He's the president of Michigan State, and he was very gracious and very humble. But you could tell the respect that my dad had just from reading his body language and the way he did it. The whole idea of it.
And that went both ways. With my grandfather, your family, my grandmother.
Yeah. So you got a grandfather who is president of Michigan State, but you head over to Green Bay at a young age.
We were over there at a young age. Went to high school in Green Bay. Then in-state tuition was $350
And you had a
semester.
sister, right?
Younger sister.
And no other siblings?
Nope.
And your dad was in education?
He was in higher education at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay, and then he finished as president of the Bellin Hospital Foundation.
And so what was he doing at Green Bay?
He did a lot of things, but the thing that he did that was most interesting, I think, for people to listen to was he took him from Division II to Division I,
Wow.
set up a conference, the Horizon League,
Wow.
hired Dick Bennett from Stevens Point,
right.
which also meant that Tony Bennett came and played at my high school.
Oh, wow.
Tony wore my number, played for the same coach as I did.
So
it was
did you know
it was
him?
always fun. I did not until they moved to Green Bay.
Okay. But did you know him when they were there?
Yeah. Yeah, they were wonderful people.
Wow.
Wonderful people.
Wow, that's amazing.
But the interesting thing is, so it came down to two people for my dad to hire for the head coach. One was Dick Bennett, and the other was Bo Ryan.
Oh, wow. Small world, right?
How about that?
So was he president of the university?
My grandfather or
No,
my dad?
your dad.
No, he was associate chancellor.
Okay.
So he was more on the business side of things.
So tell me, if you know, what does it mean to be the chancellor? Is it because they had multiple campuses, or do you know? I mean, I know somebody told me one time with regard to LCC that you're a chancellor if you have multiple campuses.
It's a UW system,
Right.
right? So they all kind of report up to Madison, to one governing body,
Right.
I guess. And the difference between a chancellor and an associate chancellor is the way that my dad had defined his job was it was more, dad was on the business development
Right.
side.
And most universities or colleges or whatever, you can divide them in half. You have the academic side and you have the business or finance side.
Correct.
And,
Right.
and most people don't understand that, yeah, you can have all these professors and, but you got to pay for it. You got to pay for all the buildings. You got to pay for all that stuff. Right?
I'm sure you saw it a lot at LCC,
Yeah,
the
I
time
sure
you
did.
spent as a trustee for them.
And so, did your dad have a PhD then?
He did in statistics,
Okay. And did he get that? Where did he get that from?
Michigan State.
There you go. So he graduates from Michigan State, but he sort of stays in the family business, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the PhD
Right.
and so where do you go to school?
So I went to Wisconsin at Madison.
And did you play golf
I played in high school
at what high school?
at Green Bay Preble High School.
Okay.
The Preble Hornets, I'm sure you've all heard of them. It's a very famous place.
You don't meet too many people from Green Bay, though.
Not really from Green Bay.
Not from Michigan. You know what I mean? Like anybody who's ever lived there, you never see anybody, right,
But
around here.
millions of people went to the Ice Bowl.
Right.
Everybody and their brother
Right.
was a decade, right?
Yeah. more than 10 times more than could fit in the stadium, right?
Exactly. 34 wedge. That was the play.
So you go to high school there, and then not too far away you go to the UW, right?
Right. It was about 3 hours and 15 minutes.
And how was that?
It was great. I mean, that's a great school. Madison reminds me a lot of Lansing, actually. Madison might have a lake or two more, but there's bodies of water. It's a state capital. There's a heavy preponderance of insurance. There's companies. There's great health care,
Right.
And Wisconsin has their own UW system hospital, UW Wisconsin.
Tell me when you
Hospital.
were at. Tell me when you graduated from high school.
80.
80. So you go right to Wisconsin, which is not a great football school really at the time.
It was getting better. We had Dave McClain, Al Toon, Randy White. I mean, they were the Van and Boom brothers were just killing people.
Yeah.
That D-backs. It was before the concussion protocols and all that stuff. So it was just nasty.
Right.
And then unfortunately, Dave McClain died.
Wow.
He went from a hot tub to a cold tub, and his heart exploded.
Wow.
And then things they hired Don Morton, who wanted to run a veer offense, small offensive lineman, didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, we would have played Wisconsin in those years, and it was really Barry Alvarez who turned that school around.
It was Barry Alvarez, did a great job.
Yeah. So you don't play golf in college.
No.
And you're just part of the fraternity life or not?
Doing that, yeah.
And
Going to games.
What are you studying?
Wound up with a degree in communications with a minor in public address.
Right. And so then what?
Then I wound up moving down to Naples, Florida.
Well, man.
And I went to work for a software company.
So that would have been 84, 85?
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, right on the verge of that's like DOS and BASIC and
dual floppy disk, 360K, baby, leading edge, reboot, three finger salute.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, fun stuff. The only thing was I wasn't smart enough. So we're down there doing this rentals and reservation software package, right? I'm talking putting in multi-user systems. Bonita Bay's first multi-user system I put installed for them. It was great. So anyway, I'm going through all this stuff. But what doesn't hit me, what I don't think about is I'm watching all these guys making $1 zillion with these rental programs, with these rental owner, where they own apartments or rental units or whatever. And I wasn't smart enough to think I ought to be buying land down here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, think about that in the 80s. I was down there in the 80s because I went We went down. Jack Johns owned a bunch of units on Marco Island. We went
you
down
go.
for one spring break, drove down and drove back,
Right.
and played golf at, I think, Pelican Bay or something down there.
Yep. Pelican Bay was
Yeah.
one. Was a relatively new one then.
So tell me, how long do you do that?
Did that for about a year and a half. Believe it or not, at that point in time, kind of missed the change of seasons a little bit.
Yeah.
Went through a hurricane. I'll take a blizzard
Any day.
any day. Any day. Those hurricanes are a little spooky. So anyway, came back up, went to work for a company called Harris Lanier.
Which is?
It was a copier's computer systems.
Okay, where was that? Chicago?
Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're in sales.
So I'm in sales. Started in sales, continuing in sales. I'm at Harris Lanier. They got a great training program. I mean, this is 3M, right? The copiers. I mean, they had market dominance, so they were pretty much state of the art. So I got a good base. I really did. I mean, I appreciate
Customers are already there. You're selling what people need.
Yeah, and it's all brand new. I mean, it's word processing.
Right.
We're going to get a word processor. I mean, that was huge.
Yeah, in
right?
the 80s. I don't think we bought our first computer until late 80s.
Yeah.
A Radio Shack.
Right. So I'm doing that. I go, I get a few years in there. There's a startup company in Green Bay that's that's computer stuff too. So I go there, and then about 2 years into that, I actually wind up getting an offer from Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Wow.
To go to work for them in 1990.
Where?
Started in training 6 months downtown Detroit, and then I shipped up to Saginaw, and I was there for about a year, and then a spot opened up in Lansing, and I came back down here.
And are you playing golf? And what are you doing during those years? You're single, right?
I'm single. In the beginning, I was just trying to figure out how to spell PPO.
Yeah.
I mean, coming from no background at all in healthcare, and then walking into this quagmire of acronyms.
But you have some great people that you can talk to about advice about your career, right? I mean, you could talk to your dad. Your grandfather, was he still alive?
Absolutely. He was instrumental in helping me get over to the blues.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
And Dick Whitmer would have been head of it then, right?
Yes.
And did you know Dick?
My grandfather knew him very well.
Yeah, I mean...
And I knew Mr. Whitmer, too.
Right.
But not as well as my
grandfather. Because of the Country Club Association would have been a minimum, but they would have had that would have been Michigan State would have been a big customer of Blue Cross, right?
Well, that was one of the things when I went to work there they had Aetna. And then I was the head of the acquisition team that actually transferred, convinced them to go from Aetna to Blue Cross, so we enrolled everybody. That was a big win. That was one of my top.
And when was that? When did you do that?
That would have been in '94.
And you would have been in East Lansing or Lansing?
Yep, I was in Lansing.
So you're selling office equipment, which is, you're walking into an office like mine or a bigger office, and you're pitching, software or hardware or whatever. When you're selling, are you in sales at Blue Cross?
Sales for some people is selling. For me, sales has always been more about listening and question asking. And so, how are you doing? What can we do to help you? What's your competition doing? What would you like to do better? And get an understanding of what, whatever it is. You've got to know what in the world is driving that business that you're talking to.
And tell me, was the PPO, was that a big deal back in 94, 93?
PPO was relatively new at that point. HMOs
PPO
were really new.
in my business is a personal protection order, but that's not what you're referring to.
No, this is a preferred provider. This is a managed care network.
Right.
And you're in a town that had, a lot of labor, a lot of really strong contracts
Lansing.
negotiated.
You're talking about Lansing, right?
Absolutely, in Lansing. And so you've got traditional healthcare where you never had to have a network.
Right, between General Motors and the state and Michigan State University and the school districts. I mean, that's 80%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're now trying to pitch them what? Sort of a small network of providers, or
a smaller network of providers, and in exchange for that, a lower premium.
And how do you get from working from Blue Cross to the PPO system, or was that where you started?
Blue Cross PPO is just a product.
Right.
of the blues.
Yeah. And did they want you to pitch that to everybody, or?
Well, again, it was one of these things where there was different types of programs, and basically what you did was listen to see, okay, where are your
Right.
people, where are your employees, what's your union agreements, how, all those kind of things.
Complicated.
Yeah, a little. I mean,
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed about watching, what you do, the way you do it, is people that can take a challenging topic,
Right.
a complicated topic, and break it down, make it kind of easy to understand.
Right.
To
Well,
me, that's a sign of
healthcare is a big negotiated product of between the union and management, or at least it was when I was at LCC. And
absolutely.
and depending on how you do it, I mean, it can be a deal killer, right?
Sure.
And so, getting in the middle of that as to say, hey, this is what we want to pitch you, and getting them to switch from Aetna to Blue Cross must have been a major.
It was learned a lot, made some mistakes along the way, definitely. Things I would do a little bit differently, communication, but got it done and dealt a lot
How
with all the
old are
unions.
you? In 94, you would have been
28, 29, 30,
yeah.
31, 32. Probably between 32 and 34 is my guess.
And so how long do you work for Blue Cross?
Was there for 4 years, and then went to, if I'm going in the right order, then I went to Physicians Health Plan at PHP as a sales manager. So I was getting promoted up kind of
Right.
the food chain. Did PHP.
Did you know like Jimmy Ippolito and Danny Lepp and the guys at Blue Cross? I mean, did you have relationships with all those guys?
Not really.
Not really.
I mean, I knew them. I'd
Right.
say hello, but it wasn't.
You would have been a member of the club then, right? In 94
Yeah.
period? So
Yes.
you would have known Jimmy Ippolito.
Oh, yeah,
and
Ep I knew.
Certainly Dick
No,
Whipper.
Ep I met in 1978. I mean, Ep
Yeah.
and I go way back.
Yeah,
So
and you would have known Dick Whitmer for sure, right?
I knew Mr. Whitmer to the point. I mean, he always intimidated me, man.
He did kind of intimidate. I don't know how well you knew him. I didn't. I call him Dick Whitmer, and I don't know why, but I don't think I would in person. I played golf against him.
So did I.
A few times.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know whether it was his good looks, his height, the way he had a full head of hair.
Right? I mean, he was just it. He was it. He was,
Right.
you know.
He was cool though too.
Yeah. Oh, very. He and
You
Gregory.
know what I mean? Yeah, and Jack Pitt.
Yep.
Right?
And Jack. Yep. And don't forget about our, Joel.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys were
Right.
great friends.
Right. So tell me, why do you leave Blue Cross?
I think I made a mistake.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd say I made a mistake. Kind of boiled down to a compensation discussion I had with them, and didn't feel like I got the right answer. And I was young, kind of stupid,
Yeah. So
I goofed.
And so who are you getting advice from back then?
Nobody, because I knew everybody tell me I was crazy to leave Blue Cross, so I didn't ask anybody. I was an idiot.
But you have a core group of friends, you and Phil Gillespie and of course Jimmy Bullock, and all you guys are sort of crossing paths one way or another, aren't you?
Yeah, but this one, I didn't want to talk about this, and I kept this one quiet.
And so what were you doing with PHP?
So Pat Pritchard hired me.
Right.
So Pritch brought me over there.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, I was sales manager, so I was basically running the sales department, doing product design and all that kind of stuff.
And that
right?
was a promotion.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
I took it that way. And then Pritch left, and he went back to Blue Cross. So I
okay.
took his job as sales director.
Okay.
And then that kind of got me spread more, where I was working with United Healthcare, and I was getting a lot more into the financials and the forecasting and all that kind of stuff, and how to pull shot claims and reinsurance and the whole bit. So that was a great experience for me to give me some width
Right.
from a knowledge and understanding of how health insurance works, or you could argue it doesn't work, but fundamentally how it does.
And when do you begin developing your relationship with Joel? Like, I mean, we all have a long-standing relationship with Joel, and this really isn't about him, but I know that you and he were, I don't even want to say close. I mean, you were very close to Joel.
And Joel and I got closer. I think Joel kind of mellowed out a little bit. You know, when I first met Joel, honestly, another one of these guys, iconic.
Yeah, right.
Iconic. And I'm like, man, that's Joel. Look, that's Joel Ferguson. Oh, gosh, he's coming. He's going to talk to me. You know? And then he'd be like, Eddie, let's go play golf. Come on now. I want to play, Eddie.
Right.
Come on now. And I'd be like, how am I going to play against you, Joel, when you've got more money in your wallet than I've got in my check, than I've got in the bank? Come on, man.
Right.
So, but over time, I overcame that. And before I knew it, I was sitting in his office, most days saying hello and just really enjoying my time with him.
And is that during your time at PHP or?
It was a little bit later. I'd say it was more. Frankly, it was more during the time I was at the bank.
And how long are you sales director at PHP?
I think it was about 4 years, maybe 4 or 5 years. Something like that. So
what are we in, around 2000?
Yeah, we're around 2000. And then I got an offer from Priority Health over on the west side, which is part of Spectrum.
Right.
And it looked really good. They wanted me to open up the Traverse City region, which was kind of cool. To be able to go up there and get that market started. And that was, it was coming. You could see Traverse City was kind of hot, but it wasn't anything like it is right now.
Not in 2000. It was still pretty small.
It was still pretty small. So anyway, I had the opportunity to do that, but that drive was a little tough because Pam wanted to stay in Lansing.
And when did you get married to Pam?
1996. So we just had our 29th anniversary.
Oh God, I was thinking you were way later than that. So when did you start dating her?
About 6 months before we got married.
Oh really? Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, it was quick.
So she's sort of lived through all this, right?
Oh yeah, she's been a trooper.
And was she there when you made the decision on PHP?
Yep.
And did you talk to her about it?
Are you trying to get me into a league? You stirred it up here a little bit, man. I don't know if this is good. We might need to edit this part. But, Pam has always been, yes, I really do. I really always do. Now, with Pam, I always discuss everything. Yeah, we're partners.
And what about Priority Health? I mean, that decision to go to work, now you're sort of an insurance guy, which is sort of...
Right.
But you lived in Lansing, and you never really moved to Traverse City or Grand Rapids, right?
No, I was just on the road.
Yeah.
I was doing 40,000 miles a year.
And driving all over and doing sales. And
yeah.
What was that like? All over the state of Michigan, right?
Yeah. Yeah. When you're in it,
right,
you're just doing it. The thing that I found when I stopped commuting for an hour each way every day was how much better I felt. You don't really realize how hard it is on your system until you stop doing it.
Post-COVID, I've come to realize, man, that driving that I would do was just crazy.
Right?
Crazy.
Especially this time of year when you're getting you hit that ice and all of a sudden you're in a different lane.
Yeah.
You're like, how did that happen?
Right. So how long do you work for Priority Health?
That was a pretty quick trip. I think that one was like a year and a half.
And then what?
And then I got a reach out from McLaren.
Okay.
And they said, hey, we looked at, now everybody's saying, well, gosh, Harden, all you did was hop jobs. Your Blue Cross, your PHP, So I get the value proposition. McLaren reaches out to me and says, our health plan, which was all Medicaid, wants to start a commercial product for businesses.
Right.
Would you come and take it from ground
zero? And
McLaren,
obviously, wasn't really even in Lansing then, was it? Or?
The hospital was.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not what it's like today.
No.
Right.
It was a new name. Nobody really knew it.
Right.
It was the other hospital. Sparrow had extreme market dominance at that time.
And so do you take that job and go to work for McLaren, right? Mm-hmm. And what's your title there?
Vice President of Sales and Marketing.
Okay, and obviously that must be a promotion. And
completely.
And how'd you like that?
I got to tell you, I absolutely loved it. I've still got friends. I'm on the board here at the local hospital just because I had so much respect for guys like Phil Incarnati, Brian Brown, Greg Lane, Kevin Tompkins.
And healthcare is a big business in Lansing, right?
Yeah.
Between Sparrow and McLaren and all the little urgent cares and, Chris Abood and Compass Health and You know,
Absolutely. Not to mention, the pharmacies that we used to have.
Michigan State University.
Michigan State, huge.
Right.
Yeah.
And so tell me, what are you doing there?
On the board?
No, I mean, what are you doing
Oh,
when you take
when
this
I'm at
job as vice president?
at McLaren, this is great. I mean, I'm setting up distribution systems. We're agent contracting. We're training agents, trying to get all that stuff figured out, right? Getting all the licensing done.
You're competing with PHP and Blue Cross,
Yeah,
right? I mean, that's
in priority, exactly.
But you're right you're right from ground zero.
Yeah.
Right, for the most part.
Yeah.
Right.
So ground totally. I'm hiring all the hiring people to be sales. Picking an advertising agency, the first one that we went with. I picked Angela and Lori.
Oh,
at
yeah.
Edge.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, and Ange, if you're going to kill me for saying it, but I think it might have been their first deal.
Really?
Was McLaren, and they did
Wow.
they were fabulous.
Wow, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great to hear.
Yeah.
And so where are you working?
I'm in Flint,
Okay,
headquartered
commuting.
in Flint, commuting every day, 52 minutes.
And that's mainly where McLaren is out of, right? I mean, that's where they had the main hospital, right?
Their headquarters now
Right, in Flint.
in Flint, and then they've grown into other states
Right.
and statewide here. So
And so how long do you work there?
8 years.
And tell me, you start from ground zero, where does it go?
At the end of the day, I think at that time, now go take us back to, what would that have been, 2014, 2013? It was about a $150 million line item. So I had grown it to annual revenue of about $150 million a year
Wow.
at that point.
Wow.
So it was, could I have done better? Always, right? But
Right.
did I take a little pride in seeing, I took something from zero to wherever we were, 32,000 members, and I'll tell you when I knew I had moved the needle a little bit, and Danny Lepp walked up to me one night, and he just said, "You're moving the needle," and he turned around and walked away, and I was like, "Oh no, I got Blue Cross's attention. I'm in trouble."
And Danny Lepp, has had a Blue Cross, I think, still.
Yeah.
But he's very approachable and a guy
Great
you've
guy.
probably known for a long time, right?
Great guy.
Yeah. I mean, he always talks to me. We always exchange when I see him, and he actually was my sponsor for when I became a member at the DAC.
Oh, really?
I asked him to be a sponsor, and he wrote a nice letter. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good connection to have that kind of. But so 2014, you kind of make it through the Great Recession, right? You see a lot of people get knocked down on their feet, and Capital National sort of took a bit of a hit back then.
So what was interesting back to that time period, about that 2008, when I was at McLaren and I was driving to Flint every day on 69.
Yeah.
When I first started there were no trucks, no semis. And as time went by, a few years went by, all of a sudden I started seeing more semis on 69, and all of a sudden I started seeing more. I was like, hey, it's coming back,
Yeah.
And then sure, there was a little lag, but you could see that orders were
Right.
starting to be fulfilled, and commerce was starting all
It
over
was,
again.
it was pretty dark days, huh?
Those were dark days, but it was interesting watching it on Highway 69.
And tell me, what was your position at the country club? At some point, you become president, right?
Yeah, that was, yes.
And
That
when
was
was
like
it?
2015.
2015.
So I took over as president of the bank, and I took over as president of the country club.
you
both
want to
at
keep this hand on
2015.
because that's your camera face there.
Oh, sorry.
So you see the inside, baseball sort of look at what's going on. I mean, not only do we know that the recession hit the real estate market, but also you got a lot of people who don't have health care back in that period of time, right?
So the safety net that McLaren provided, and I don't know if safety net's the right term, but it was Medicaid.
Right.
And so as the economy got worse and people got poor and couldn't afford insurance, our membership on our Medicaid product increased. It grew
Yeah.
because people couldn't afford insurance. And now we've got a situation where they're taking away the subsidies on the Obamacare, and people are going to be going from $50 a month to $1,000, and there's going to be more distressed population
Right.
at this point.
So tell me what that was like. You're running McLaren. you're moving the needle, right?
Yeah.
And you got 8 years
8 years.
under your belt, and you really got a decent period of time in the insurance
Had a good run.
field, and you decide, you know, I'm gonna do something else.
So we had started Summit Community Bank,
Right.
and at the right around 2013, we sold it.
Right.
And I had been on the board of Summit.
You were a founder. It was
Founding.
you, Pat Gillespie, Brogan,
Gallagher.
right? Gallagher,
Williams. Oh gosh, who was the Gadolito? Ramsby.
Ramsby,
Steve
yeah.
Ramsby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was cool. It was a great group.
Yeah.
It was a great group.
All basically local East Lansing guys,
Yep.
right?
I mean, we raised, I don't know, $8.5 million in stock to get the bank started.
Right.
And, off it went. So we sell the bank, and then there's a spot open to go on the board at Capital National. And because I'd been on a bank board at Summit, I was asked, would you like to be on this board? And I
tell
liked it.
me when that was.
I would have been around 2013.
So, I mean, clearly, that wasn't necessarily Joel's heyday, but he certainly had a strong grip on what was going on, right? In 2013, I mean, he was a power broker of all power brokers in this town. Or
He was certainly a very strong influencer.
Right.
I mean, that guy, he had a great ability to get people to do what he wanted them to do.
Right. And he actually wanted to help him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whenever he asked me to do something, or, I wanted to help him, and he was always good to me.
Oh, yeah.
And who would have been president of the bank then at Capital National?
Paula Cunningham.
Right.
When I first, yeah.
Now, did you know Bob Hart? I mean, Bob Carr?
I knew of him.
Bob Carr?
Yeah, I might have met him once. I knew John
Yeah.
Smythe.
Yeah, John was a big guy at that
Yeah,
bank.
Smythe, he was awesome.
And how about Joe Reed?
And Mr. Reed, I got to know Mr. Reed.
I didn't know they used to, you call him Mr. Reed, but he was one of my dad's closest friends, really.
Yeah.
They used to, some people used to say he was smoking Joe Reed, or, he was always great. He was a iconic, really.
Yeah. Yep.
And so what draws you, you become on the board,
Right.
right? And how do you parlay that?
Well,
Because you're still working.
I was still working, but I was going to some of these meetings, and then the board asked me, what are you seeing? I attended a few, just to kind of get a feel for what was going on at the bank, and I sat in on some management meetings. And they said, what do you see? And I said, you probably, I think there's some room for improvement. It was a tough situation. I'm not saying anything negative about Paula whatsoever.
Right.
She walked into a hornet's nest. I mean, she had to transfer.
I'm a big fan of Paula,
Yeah,
so
Paula's
even if you
awesome.
said something bad about her, I wouldn't believe it.
No, not a chance. And so she's got her hands full. So I think honestly, she had been grinding at that thing for a long time.
Yeah, during the dark days,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Was she there in 08, 09?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think she got, as I would have, just a little tired, so she wound up getting a job over at ARP
Right.
and doing great. And then I slipped into her role.
And who was on the board with you?
At that time, let's see, who did we have there? We had Doug Johns, Ken Jones, Dan Normals,
Jennifer?
Bob Reed.
Bob Reed.
Jennifer wasn't on right away,
Okay.
but she did come on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so you're trying to manage Capital National Bank, and then all of a sudden you become president.
Yes.
And now you gotta first you're on the board, and now you gotta answer to the board,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And tell me, so 2015, you have some banking experience, right? But you
Right.
gotta leave what is
20
know-
years, 25 years worth
of insurance
Background.
business, and I don't know that. My guess is that McLaren was probably a lot bigger at the time than Capital National Bank.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, I think highly of the Reeds. They're like family to me. But there were some dark days for Capital National Bank, weren't there?
It was close.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of things. I'll tell you, though, again, there have been a few milestones for me in what I've been able to accomplish. And certainly the first 5 years there, I'm so proud of the team. and what we were
2015
able-
to 2020.
what we were able to get done. 2018, when we were finally, the regulators can have a lot of oversight on you, and we were
And
able.
you
to,
were under, when you took over, you were under oversight by,
Yeah.
by the
quite a bit.
FDC or
OCC,
OCC,
Office of the Comptroller and Currency.
which means what when you say the bank is under oversight?
It means you've got about an audit a day going on, between your regular audits and between the exams. So your exam cycle is every 6 months. In an exam, they bring in 12 to 15 people, and they're going through everything looking for mistakes.
And mistakes meaning, are all the documents here? Is everything signed? Should this bank loan have been made?
Did you follow the flood insurance codes? Are you following all the acts? Are your tellers greeting and managing things correctly? There's a million things,
Right.
rules, right? All your correspondence, is that to code? Does it meet the reading requirements? All that kind of everything from soup to nuts.
And Capital National Bank has always been a community bank, right?
Yes.
It's not necessarily like a Fifth Third or some of these other banks. I mean, if you wanted to get a deal done,
that was the thing, right? You got
You
a
went
community
to-
bank with
you-
a local board.
you wanted to go to Capital Net. If you had a deal that needed to be done, you would go to Capital National Bank, right?
That was-
Because they were lending as much on the character of the person as opposed to the
Things, the
credit or
the,
cash flow.
The character is always the biggest part of the equation, no
Right.
doubt. Especially in a community bank, because everybody knows everybody. So
And so when things went dark in 08, 07,
Yeah.
08, Capital National probably took as big a hit as anybody, right?
took a hit, and the OCC, the whole industry at that point in time. I mean, you had appraisals that were just dumping.
Right.
Right. I mean, look at the Arizona market. Look at Vegas. I mean,
Right.
all the places that Capital National had expanded to that have been hot markets,
Right.
and they're primarily real estate deals. All of
Right.
a sudden, the value, they're inverted. They owe more than the value of the
Right,
property,
exactly.
and that wasn't just Capital National, man. That was banks all over the
Yes,
place,
absolutely.
right?
And it doesn't make sense to keep making payments, right?
Right.
And you've got to figure out what to do with the property.
Yeah. And so, and everybody's embarrassed. The feds don't feel good about that happening. Nobody feels good about what happened to the market. So you get a whole bunch of new rules and a lot more oversight, and you got to be a lot more, compliant. You can't take risks and everything tightens
But there's a
up.
difference between being on a board, like you were at Summit, and maybe you're also a founder. But you have probably really good lawyers that help you set that up.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden becoming president.
Yeah.
Because not only are you, look at on a board of a bank at Capital National. I mean, you and I know who they are, but most people, don't know who they are, and you could probably get away with being on a board of a bank and not know much about banking at all, right? I mean,
I think having some common sense is always helpful for board
100%. But now all of a sudden you're running a bank,
members. Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a huge jump, I would say, between being on a board. You had a tremendous amount of business experience, but now you're actually no longer the guy sitting in on the meetings. You're the guy signing the documents. And,
Yeah.
in 2015, I mean, you were kind of moving out of the woods, but not out of the woods probably, right?
Oh, just finding out how far we had to go to get out of the woods.
Why leave? Why make that change though? I mean, like what is it that convinced you besides the, private conversations you had with Pam? I mean,
Right.
I
thought it was pretty cool. I thought the opportunity was pretty cool. I thought the opportunity to make a difference in Lansing for the first time in my entire life, to actually be working in Lansing and not a satellite for the most part, except for the early years with the Blues,
right.
to come back. And I always wanted to work downtown. And I'd never gotten a chance to work in downtown Lansing. I know you look at me like I'm crazy, but it was kind of, these were some things,
Right.
And I thought, what the heck? I mean, this is pretty cool. So I walk into it. I mean, you're drinking through a fire hose.
And
there's no doubt.
tell me what their number of employees they would have had in 15.
Yeah, it fluctuated between 30 and 34.
So, but still, you've got to manage all those people, and some of them have been in banking a lot longer than you, right?
All of them.
Right,
All of them. I mean,
Right.
literally, we'd get
Dave
done with some.
Felposh and
Sure, and Felpouse was outstanding. I mean, he was a rock,
right.
you know. And
Was John Smythe still there?
Smythe came back to help us as a kind of like a ed coach.
Right.
You know, he was my guy. He was my guy. I talked to him about everything.
Right.
You know, Smythe, what do we do here? What do we do there? Holy cow, what do we do with this?
Right.
And most of the time, you know, he was really calm. The only time I knew I'd be in trouble is if his voice out.
Are you still dealing with some of the loans you had made in 08 in that period, or were you past all that?
Oh, no. No, we're digging our way. You got troubled loans. You got troubled loans. You got low income stream. You know, your loan portfolio is shrunk.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of heat. I mean, any area on the compass that bank needed a little help.
And I mean, I don't want to, you know, but tell me, what are you? I mean, do you have a plan? Do you say this is what I want to do? I mean, are you writing down where you want to be? I mean, how do you go from, you know, what may be a signature comment from Danny Lepp saying you're moving the dial to, hey, you know, are we going to get this boat across the river? You know, we're taking on water.
Yeah, yeah. So the way I approached it was we started at the top and worked our way down. And what I mean by that is I said, okay, at the end of each month, what do we have to report on to our board? And what are the reports that we have to have on time to get to the regulators? And how confident are we that these reports are accurate and valid?
Right.
And how have we double-checked these? And how accurate are we that our procedures and our policies are accurate and to the new laws? And
Right.
so it was a month by month, man. I mean, we called it the war room. And we would make sure we went through the entire year in the beginning and laid out everything that had to happen each month during the year, because there are quarterly reports that are due, there are monthly reports that are due. I mean, there's a lot of organization.
That's reporting as part of it, but you also have to make payroll every 2 weeks, right?
And along that, you had to make sure that your loans that you had were hanging in there, and you had to keep an eye on them, and it's
Right.
you know, try and get new business.
Really?
It was a lot.
You're not trying to get new business. That's
No, we
because-
were trying to get
Oh,
new
yeah,
business.
that's my
I mean,
point.
that's how you're growing.
Yeah, and you know, as a bank president of a small community bank, I mean, part of your job is to get out there and be the face of the bank, right?
I thought that was important. I always thought that was important, and frankly, it was probably one of the most enjoyable parts of the job was being able to go out and meet with somebody at their office,
Right.
and tour their facility and hear what's working well, and just get to know who they are and what they're about. And these local, and we're dealing with not huge companies, right? So, having guys who take great pride in their business, who built it from
Right.
scratch. I mean, look, the guys.
Right,
Some of them,
right,
auto
right.
dealers, cleaning
Yeah,
companies,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Some of these people who started it themselves and just became incredibly successful. And some of those fellows, actually, I was there to be a part of the win.
And so when do you feel like, hey, all this due diligence is starting to pay off?
Based on the reports that we would get from the regulators.
Yeah, and tell me when you think you sort of felt like, hey, I'm turning.
We got a shot.
I'm turning the corner on this.
When they told me I was.
Yeah, do you know what year that would have been?
It would have been in 17.
And you took over in 15?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so in 17 and 18 you're now saying, hey, I got this.
It's going to happen.
You retired about a year ago?
I'd say it's about right. Maybe a little year and a half.
About the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the year we had a party.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
And so are you planning your retirement? Are you saying I'm only going to do this for 5 years, or did you think in 2018 or 2020 I'm going to do this forever?
It was a lot of things that caused me to pull the trigger and say it was time to step away for a minute.
I got that, but I'm talking about in 18 or 19. What were you thinking? Like what was your life plan then?
I didn't. It was keep grinding, maximize retirement accounts, right? Load
Right.
those up as best I can, but just keep grinding, and that was all I was doing.
And were you having fun?
I was having a lot of fun with the wins.
Right.
I mean, a lot of weekends.
Yeah.
When you're building it, you're in there all the time.
And you bring on some new people, right?
Yep.
And Joey Campbell,
Yep.
right?
Joey comes over.
Did you know then when you brought him that maybe he would be your successor?
It became obvious, with how he handled himself and how he handled his customers, that he had what I believe to be the DNA makeup to be a good president of a community bank. No question.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And so, between 20 and 25, then are those the salad years or whatever they call them? If you sort of turn the corner in 18 or something, 19, and then
it was different. It became different stuff, right? Then it became, let's make sure that we get some dividends out. Let's do these kind of things and focus more. I guess the best way to say it is, those years you could look forward.
Right.
The other years, the first 5, were always looking back to see what you missed.
Because I think not that it made a difference. He had JJ back then.
Yeah.
And I think he was before Joe Campbell a little bit. Right?
A little bit. Yeah. JJ and Joey came out about the same time. Real close.
And you refinanced this building for me. I think it might have been pre-pandemic, but maybe not. But it was before we did the back bar, and or about that time.
Yep.
So 2019-ish. And then you financed our building in Birmingham. Mm-hmm. And I know you tell me all the time, make sure you get that paid off. But that's been a really, I couldn't have done that without you guys.
Yeah.
And I don't, obviously, I don't, you've done a lot bigger deals, but I can't tell you how grateful it was to do business with you guys, the way the numbers, and you made sure we got the deal done.
Yeah. Well, you made it easy, and your team.
No, that's
so
great.
Thank you.
That's great.
You guys are great to work with.
So, you're running a bank, which to me seemed like, a great job, right?
But most of it's a great job.
And you went through the dark days, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you decide, I'm going to do something else.
Yes.
And tell me what your mindset is.
Right now?
No,
Or during
in the
that
last,
time period?
in the last, you must have decided before it was public, hey, I don't think I'm going to be doing this much longer, right?
Yeah,
You have the conversation with Pam.
Yeah.
What is it about your lifestyle that you say, hey, I need to, move on?
Take a breather.
Yeah.
It was a lot of things, but I think part of it was my dad died during that time period.
That's tough.
And it wasn't unexpected, but it's still it's the finality, and it's just awful.
Right.
And then my mom had to have a bunch of surgeries and really didn't have an opportunity to grieve the loss of my dad, because about 2 weeks after we buried him, she was in having a hip replacement.
Right.
And then she had to have heart surgery. And so I needed time to help navigate her. And fortunately, with my healthcare background, I was able to help get some things taken care of.
Which is important, but you can be an advocate and also make sure everything is.
Yep. And then, Pam's mom died.
Right.
And I felt like, David needed some support,
Right.
And so I just felt like it was the right time to take a pause,
Yeah.
and do some things that I hadn't done in 30 years, and maybe even focus a little bit on, on me. And a little bit on my health and a few things, right? And so I tried to make some adjustments that way. And
it's I don't even think it's easy to talk about. It's not, but it's much harder to do, right?
Yeah.
Because you were good at your job, and when the party to have Kristen get up and say all the kind words that she said about you. You obviously could have stayed there and collected a paycheck, and it says a lot about you to say, hey, I need to be, my focus has got to be someplace else.
Yeah. Well, after all the time I was on the road, I felt like, it's about time to put a little love on my family.
Right. Well, that's a honorable thing, especially to recognize it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of us, it's too late before we say, hey, I should have, it's not till we're on our deathbed, or everybody's gone, that we say, hey, I should have done X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And so, you retire about a year ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the bank, and how's it going?
Days go by fast. Sunday nights are really stressless. Sunday nights are crazy. There's nothing, you just go to sleep. It's just
Right.
another night.
Right.
Been training the dog, been taking care, going down to see my mom, doing some family stuff.
Where does she live?
She's in Naples.
Right. And Bonita or Naples?
Just North Naples.
Okay.
North Naples.
Right. And I know I've spent some time with you down there, and so tell me where you think, your future lies.
That's a good question.
You know?
That's a great question.
Because you still have a lot to offer,
Yeah.
and yet you don't owe anybody anything, right?
No? I mean, I guess, what's going to get me up is there something that would get me up before the alarm goes off? Is there something that would be fun to do? Is there some company I could help win? Whatever it may be. I like challenges. I like business challenges. I think I've still got a little something left in my tank to give. I think my network is still relatively decent. Thank you very much for this.
Well, everybody,
let's go.
I don't know anybody that's ever said anything bad about Ed Harden, and certainly, nobody who's ever played golf with you, because you're a fun guy to play golf. You're a fun guy to play golf.
Beautiful. Well, thank you.
Tell me, in the last year, you played a decent amount of golf. I see you out there playing in the mornings and playing, on a, whatever, I don't want to call it retirement golf, but you're able to get out and play with your buddies. How's that been?
So I averaged 20 rounds a year when I was working. Saturdays, Sundays, golf scrambles, all the business
Right.
outings, all that stuff. Last summer I posted 73 scores.
And,
So I went from 20 to 73.
and
And I didn't get any better.
well, I remember playing with you early on, and I didn't actually like it because whatever your handicap was, a 4 or 5, you always beat me.
Well, that's
I mean, it wasn't even close. You'd shoot like 73, and you'd outdrive me by like 40 yards, and
Well, those days are long gone.
Why do you say
I'm glad you remember them. I
why?
don't.
Why do you say that though? Why do you think that? that is?
I think part of it is I let myself go physically, and I am working to improve that.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah?
going to give myself a shot and see if I can play a little bit better.
Well,
if I'm
is
physically
that important to you?
Yeah,
Is it?
it is. I miss it. I miss being good.
And tell me about your affection towards Michigan State, because I know you had a strong relationship with a lot of people.
You got so many great guys out there.
Right.
You got Tom Izzo.
Right.
I can't even say how wonderful a human being he is, and Rocky and Lupe and
Right.
Matt and the girls and his grandchildren and everything. I mean, what a wonderful thing they've done for our community to have been a part of it for so long. And then you got guys like Jake Boss
Right.
and Jake Boss Jr., fantastic dude. I mean, great guys.
Yeah.
Dad, are you kidding me? Senior, how cool is that guy?
Yeah, exactly. Good looking guy too.
And then, and then you've had other people like George Perlis and Joel and Bobby Pop and Gary Van Dam and even going back to Duffy, who used to babysit me. I mean, going back, way back, right? Going deep. I mean, how can you not? Hank Bulla,
Right.
right? I mean, you got all these guys. Earl Morrill. I mean, Raleigh Dotch. It goes back, he played at Michigan State. He was offensive line coach for the Packers. He's offensive line coach for the Lions. And then he coached for the Steelers, and he got a bunch of Super Bowl rings. I mean, great guys.
And how many games do you get to a year in Green Bay?
In Lambeau, I'm still going to go to 2.
2 games a year in
Yeah.
the winter, or are you like John Lindert, who will only go if there's snow on the ground? Or?
John Lindert is about the polar opposite of me. I've had enough.
Right.
I hit the opener. If it's a home game, I'll go to the opener. I'll go to there with Jeff Metz, and we'll pop
Right,
over and
right.
pop back. It's a day trip. Doesn't get any better.
I didn't realize you and I went to. I think it was the last game of the year. It was the Lions Green Bay.
That Lions game, and the Lions beat them and
Yeah,
knocked them
yeah,
out
yeah.
of the playoffs.
I think it was maybe the last time I did any betting on one of those I had made money all year betting against the Lions, and I was at that game, and I was doing the in-game betting, which I like to do, and I was sure the Green Bay was going to come back and win, and
And they didn't.
they didn't.
And Aaron threw that punt. I mean, that was a punt. He threw a punt, and it got picked, and that
Yeah.
ended the game.
Yeah. And I didn't realize what a big Green Bay. I thought you were just going down for the Lions, and didn't realize you were
No,
disappointed.
had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun in Green Bay. You know, Dad was on the executive committee.
We can go way over. But we're getting close. But when you were going through those dark days at Capital National, I mean, who would you call outside the bank?
Smythe,
Yeah.
John Smythe.
And tell me, we talked a little bit about Joel, but I always like talking about him. I mean, tell me about your relationship with him in those days, because he would have been maybe not on the board, but as a founder and a significant shareholder, I think.
With Joel, you know, the specifics, you know, first of all, I can't really talk about specifics anyway, but with Joel, I'd always go more 30,000 feet.
Right.
You know, and as an educator, Joel would come in and explain things in a way that you, if you were reading it in a vacuum, you wouldn't think made any sense. But in the context of the discussion, Joel would always bring it in, you know, and he'd always tell you a story behind it. And he had just some, you know, he just had a wonderful way about him. He's a lot of fun. He could make you laugh, and then 10 minutes later, he could be so obnoxious he could make you cry, get angry, get up, and then laugh again.
He was never afraid to give advice.
No.
Right?
No.
Right. And I say this about Joel. He never started a sentence at a beginning. He always started in the middle. You know, it was always like in the middle of a sentence, you know, and he was always, but he would not afraid to tell you anything. You know,
no,
like there were no secrets. With
very
Joel.
forthcoming.
Yeah, and his advice was always good, I thought.
Yeah.
So I started this out talking a little bit about your grandfather, and you know, back in those days, you would see people around town that were iconic. You know, Joel Ferguson, Gregory Eaton, Dick Whitmer. You know, your grandfather. A lot of people. Jack Breslin. I don't know if you knew Jack at all. Probably one of the nicest guys.
Yeah.
You know, you remember guys at the country club that treat you well?
Right.
Jack Breslin was one of those guys.
Cool.
You know, not everybody did. They'd see, what are you doing up here? Why aren't you working? You know. But my question to you is, did we lose that sort of part of maybe our community, or do we have the icons anymore, or have we beat everybody up so much that nobody's an icon anymore?
That's a great question. How great a question is that?
You know what I mean?
It's like, is there going to be regime change, or is it just going away? Right?
Yeah.
You know, is there a changing of the guard? And if so, who are the new guardsmen?
Right. You know, I think about in the practice of law, especially criminal defense, it was Leo Farhat and my dad. And, you know, and there were a lot of other guys that did criminal defense back in the day, but those were the two guys that dominated. They were icons, you know.
Yeah.
And now it's like everybody and their brother does it. And I'm wondering, you know, when Joel's gone, obviously we still have Gregory, but you know, do we have? You didn't know Bob Carr, but you know, when he passed, everybody talked to him like he was a banker's banker.
Correct.
You know, I mean,
he was the best. I mean, he said banking always was and always will be a people business.
Dick Whitmer was
iconic.
Yeah, I mean, do we have people like that anymore that you can look at? Maybe Pat Gillespie. I don't know. You know.
You know, that's a great question. I guess I've never. You know, I've got some people I'd like to see become. You know, I've got some friends I'd love to have. You know,
right. Well,
be
you're one of those. You're
successful.
one of those guys. I'm hoping you're just in an intermission. We're going to see, you know, Act 5 from you, because you got a lot to offer, and I understand that family comes first, and you obviously understand that. But you know, everybody wants to see you, you know, do more.
Yeah. Well, I'm very curious to see where the next chapter where the mop flops on this
Well,
one, the next steps.
we'll have to get you back on when it's that time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
buddy.
This has been awesome.
That's great.
Appreciate it.